at some point on the path that sets you apart from the crowd, the one often romanticized as a special calling. A subtle yet irreversible shift happens. You don't suddenly float or sprout wings. You simply start seeing clearly. The outer noise of status games, endless comparison, and do or die energy loses its hypnotic pull. Then a new noise rises, this time from inside you. Whispers you can no longer ignore. Truth is, awakening rarely arrives with fireworks. It comes like a sudden power outage. First relief, then strange silence, then questions start pouring in. If you're here, you've probably felt that odd paradox. You expected awakening to hand you a golden map. Instead, it tears up the old one. You still have responsibilities, deadlines, relationships, bills, a body that needs rest, and a mind that sometimes refuses to cooperate. But the fuel that once kept you running, proving yourself, chasing approval, performing the persona, no longer ignites. You're left confused. What's happening? Why is everything suddenly not working? This doesn't mean you're broken. It means your soul is upgrading its operating system. Carl Jung called this the beginning of individuation, the slow, honest process of becoming a whole human instead of just an obedient mask. There is no coming to consciousness without pain, he wrote. And he wasn't exaggerating. You're pulling back the projections you once placed on partners, parents, bosses, or institutions. You're meeting your own unconscious dreams, symptoms, sudden feelings, and uncomfortable truths. In an ego-driven world of instant opinions and nonstop noise, this feels like swimming upstream. But take heart, this isn't a sign you've failed. It's proof you've stepped out of the current that keeps everyone else spinning in circles. If this message touches your heart or makes you feel less alone on the journey, come join the Metacita community. Subscribe now and turn on the notification bell so we can stay connected and keep building a more beautiful, peaceful world, starting with ourselves. Let's grow together. Let's name the pressure you're feeling. It's like being inside a pressure cooker that keeps heating up. Our culture worships visibility, speed, and certainty. Awakening invites invisibility, slowness, and ambiguity. The collective demands you pick a side. Individuation says, hold the tension of opposites. The collective screams, be somebody. But the deeper center Jung called the self whispers softly, be honest. This friction isn't proof you're on the wrong path. It's confirmation you've gone deeper. Philosophically, this is the eternal conflict between the seen and the unseen, between collective existence and individual search. Jung reminds us the human soul isn't a production machine. It's a garden that needs time to bloom. Whoever looks outward dreams. Whoever looks inward awakens, he said. In awakening, you start realizing the outer world is often just a collective dream that traps us, while real truth is born from the inner silence you patiently tend. About the idea of a chosen soul, archetypally, it can be real. When strong material rises from the unconscious, it feels like a new mantle falling on your shoulders. Hero, healer, truthbringer, call it what resonates. If you feel it, it's not arrogance. It's the soul's language. But here's the razor's edge. Identifying too strongly with that energy risks spiritual inflation. Jung warned about the mana personality, the puffed-up, fragile self that wants to feel special, untouched by human mess. If you catch a whiff of that in yourself, no shame. Just ground it. The energy flowing through you wants to be lived, not worshipped on an altar. Philosophically, this invites humility. We're not gods descending to earth, but humans touching the sky. A gentle reminder. The chosen soul narrative can seduce, yet every person has awakening potential. What differs is timing and how the call arrives. Everyone gets their turn if they listen. This keeps us humble, recognizing our journey mirrors the universal human struggle, where every soul is eventually called to wake from collective sleep. So, how do you stay grounded when the earth shakes? Start with the most ordinary things we often think aren't spiritual. Fold your sheets with reverence. Cook simple food. Pay the bills. The stronger the roots, the safer the soul can lower new truths without shattering the container. This is a simple yet profound philosophy. Daily life is where spirit meets matter, and that's where real strength forms. And yes, the shadow will come knocking now, not to punish, but to be reclaimed. Envy, anger, shame, pride, avoidance, they surface because they finally have room. Nothing is wrong with this. It's actually a gift. The whole self embraces the exiled feelings. When you can say, that envy is mine, the heat subsides. You become harder to manipulate, harder to gaslight, harder to recruit into collective panic. Shadow work isn't a side quest. It's the main curriculum. Philosophically, Jung taught that integrating the shadow is the key to true freedom. Without it, awakening is illusion. The shadow is the gateway to the soul, he said, inviting us to see darkness not as enemy, but as ally bringing new depth to everyday existence. You may also feel a social shift. People who love the old, predictable version of you might feel threatened by your new quiet. That's natural. You don't have to bleed to prove your growth. Build what Jung modeled, a secret inner life. He painted his visions, kept private journals, and literally built stone by stone a place for his soul to breathe. Your bawling in can be a notebook, walks, a calming playlist, or a nightly ritual where you speak truth out loud. Create sanctuary so your insights have somewhere soft to land. This is about carving sacred space amid worldly chaos. In an age where everything is connected yet often empty, this sanctuary is a gentle rebellion against modern alienation, reminding us true peace is born from intimate relationship with self. Finally, find containers that can hold what's happening without pathologizing it. A Jungian-oriented therapist who speaks soul language, a grounded mentor, or a small circle where listening matters more than fixing. Without such containers, awakening energy tends to burst and swing us wildly. One day we feel like a prophet full of vision, the next we want to disappear completely. With the right container, we digest that energy slowly, turning it into steady strength instead of exhausting explosions. Picture the container as a sturdy cup. It doesn't just hold our inner storm. It lets us drink from it sip by sip without spilling or breaking. Jung himself sought such containers all his life, from conversations with Freud to meetings with wise elders across cultures. This isn't dependency, it's balance, letting awakening energy flow through authentic relationship so we metabolize experience into sustainable growth. Without balancers, many chosen ones burn out or fall into illusion. With them, we learn awakening isn't a lonely mountaintop, but a river flowing through life's valleys, nourishing the ground around us. Now let's talk about the in-between, the psychological no man's land between your old identity and the emerging one. Here the ego doesn't know what to do because old strategies, achievement, comparison, validation no longer fit. Jung called this enantiodromia, when things swing into their opposite. If you were hyperactive before, now you feel slow. If you once sought meaning outside, everything external now feels hollow. The swing isn't regression. It's natural recalibration. The tricky part, the ego hates emptiness. It will flee into busyness, distraction, spiritual bypassing, pretending to be above human struggle, or plunge into despair. Your job is to stay present without running or dramatizing. Think of it as emotional composting. Old material rots so new life can grow. Don't rush the rotting phase. Don't label it all low vibration. The soul is doing sacred maintenance, turning past debris into fertile soil for seeds that will bloom in their own time. One of Jung's most beautiful insights is that we can't live only from intellect or spirit. We need symbolic living, life infused with inner meaning. You don't have to escape into fantasy, but slowly you'll notice the universe seems to whisper to you. Symbolic living is when a bird at the window feels like a personal message, or a dream arrives that feels disturbingly intimate. At that point, we move beyond positive and negative because everything that arrives symbolically carries its own beautiful message. This is where synchronicity guides you. It's not delusion. It's participation in the universe's complexity. We realize the soul speaks in images, moods, metaphors, not just logic. On an ordinary Tuesday, what does this look like? Wake up, feel the familiar weight, and instead of saying, "I'm stuck," ask, "What is this feeling asking for?" Maybe rest, maybe expression. Brew morning coffee mindfully, not automatically. Catch your dream before it fades, or doodle something meaningless that somehow lightens you. Notice tension in your chest at work, sudden bursts of energy, or the lump in your throat. Realize it's not just stress. It's inner truth asking for space. Treat your inner world like weather to be understood, not a problem to fix. Symbolic living isn't mystical theater. It's letting the unseen inform the scene, like an underground river watering surface trees. Treating your unconscious as collaborator, not enemy, is the antidote to bypassing, because instead of rejecting pain, you dialogue with it in empathy. Let's talk about building motivation not borrowed from fear. All your life, you may have been driven by shoulds, should succeed, should make parents proud, should be productive. The problem is fear was the invisible battery, fear of being meaningless, unloved, unseen. When awakening dissolves those, motivation collapses because ego incentives stop working. Jung's medicine isn't trying harder, it's listening deeper. The self, the deeper organizing principle of the soul, moves through feeling, curiosity, and resonance. That becomes your new compass. You won't always feel blazing passion, but there will be subtle nudges. That's what Jung called the numinous, sparks of meaning glowing in the dark. Follow them. Meaning is quieter than adrenaline, but far more lasting. Start small. Instead of asking, "What's my purpose?" ask what feels alive right now. That's the soul speaking. Maybe it wants you to call someone, take a walk, paint something ugly but freeing, rearrange your room, or simply rest without guilt. Your soul, pure awareness in operation and self-regulating, never shouts, it only whispers. Honor those whispers with attention, and they grow into authentic momentum that moves you without force. You'll also notice your relationship to achievement shifting. You used to work to become someone in others' eyes. Now you act to become more yourself. The shift from performance to expression changes everything. Those who survive awakening aren't the ones who abandon action, but those who act from inner alignment. not soul-eating anxiety. Sustaining spiritual awakening in an ego-driven world means mastering the art of dual citizenship. You're now rooted in two realities, the unseen world of soul and the visible world of daily form. Jung called this holding the tension of opposites, staying highly conscious while still paying taxes, answering emails, and remembering lunch. You're not asked to flee society, but to live inside it without losing your center. How do you protect inner life without becoming cold or cynical? Realize you don't have to match the collective rhythm or noise. The world is addicted to extremes, endless opinions, productivity, validation. You don't have to compete in that arena. Silence becomes your gentle rebellion. Depth is your quiet protest. When you choose reflection over reaction, presence over performance, you already shift the vibration around you, not by preaching, but by authentic being. Jung said, "Whoever looks outward dreams, whoever looks inward awakens." But awakening isn't retreating into isolation. It's bringing inner awareness into every interaction. When you speak, notice what fills your words. When you scroll, notice how each post affects your nervous system. Be conscious not just of what you consume, but why. This is symbolic living, where daily life becomes part of ongoing individuation. Humility is the next safeguard. Many chosen ones exhaust themselves trying to save others. Remember, you're not here to change anyone. You're here to embody integration, showing through your being that awakening can coexist with laughter, responsibility, and imperfection. Jung warned the savior archetype is beautiful but dangerous if gripped too tightly. It can devour you. The wiser path: realize the light flowing through you isn't yours. You're just the vessel, not the brand. And vessels need care, rest, solitude, beauty, and real human connection. Jung built his stone tower at Bollingen to anchor soul in something tangible. You can do it through art, walks by the sea, or honest friendship. Your sacred work is keeping the channel clean enough for spirit to express through form. If you feel isolated, misunderstood, even invisible, remember, invisibility is temporary protection while your roots go deep. You're not behind. You're hatching. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your integration, your ability to stay awake while still showing up. When you do, you become what Jung called a living symbol, a bridge between conscious and unconscious, heaven and earth. That's how the chosen survive awakening in an ego world, not by escaping, but by walking through it with eyes open, heart whole, and soul quietly guiding the way. On this awakening journey, we see the cost paid isn't failure, but an invitation to live more authentically. Jungian individuation calls us to embrace pain, shadow, and everyday symbolism while keeping balance in a world that often demands false performance. This isn't an end, but the beginning of deeper life, where motivation is born from inner resonance, not outer fear. You're not alone. This struggle is part of the larger human tapestry that connects us all in the search for meaning. Before returning to the world's noise, take a deep breath. You've already come so far, facing what many avoid their whole lives. And you're still here, still curious, still growing. That alone is extraordinary. The good news is every small step toward integration is a victory that brings peace not only to you, but to the world around you. If this touched something in you, share your story in the comments. Maybe you've faced the cost of awakening or have a related insight. Let's support each other. And if this helped, Share it with someone who might need it, a friend, family member, anyone wrestling with this paradox. Subscribe to Metacita so we can keep connecting and growing together, exploring the depths of soul with empathy and wisdom. Thank you for listening. May your days be filled with gentle light.